I am the neutral college football guy. Try to cover everyone. Try not to be biased. All that other business. Try to do my best. Is it impossible? Yes. Everybody's got bias, but that's my approach. However, I make no bones about this one. I enjoy watching Clemson spring game more than anybody else's spring game. Love hearing from Dabo. He's just more animated. He's more into it. He seems to give better scouting reports than anyone. It's not just your standard stuff. He'll let you know, okay, this kid was struggling a little bit early in camp, and then we did X, Y, and Z. It's always a good listen, always a good watch. Talking Clemson spring game, really the first national power that's going to present its spring game this year on April 6th. We got Jason Priester here, allclemsontigers.com. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. How about you?
I am doing just fine. Good to have you here. Jason and I are going to get together on Saturday night about 8 o'clock Eastern time after the spring game for a live show, and we'll take your comments and questions then. So you're going to show up at this spring game, Jason, and what are you looking out for first and foremost?
Offense. Clemson spring games a lot of time tend to be fairly vanilla, but I think that you want to see some explosiveness back in this offense. Once we got towards the end of last season, there was just no pushing the ball down the field. It was dinking and dunking, and Clemson had to rely on those extended 10, 11, 12 play drives, that leaned heavily on the run and the short passing game. And I think they want to get back to being able to pick up those chunk plays. And I think the hope would be anyways that you would see at least a little bit of that on Saturday. You get freshman Bryant Wesco added to that receiver room, who is just received all kinds of high praise throughout the spring from coaches, from his teammates, even from a couple of recruits I've talked to that have been at practice. He always seems to get mentioned. So that would be first and foremost, seeing if there's some explosiveness that's going to get added back into this offense. And where is Cade Klubnik, from a development standpoint? Do you want to see if he's on his way to taking that next step, his comfort level, scanning the field, reading the whole field and having the time and the patience to let some of those downfield plays develop?
So besides Wesco, are we hearing good things out of camp about anybody in particular? I would ask you the negative side, but we usually don't hear too much negative coming out of camp. It's usually a lot of positive stuff, but based on everything you've gathered or been able to show up for, anybody else stand out, or any position groups?
We've heard encouraging things about Sammy Brown, the 5-star linebacker. We got Wes Goodwin one day last week, and he talked about Brown being able to, soak up everything pretty quickly and being able to, kind of quarterback the defense because he's repping a lot at Mike. So he's another guy that I think's had a really good spring in his very first spring. I've heard some good things about freshman corner Tavoy Fegan. And we've heard a lot of good things about backup quarterback Chris Vizina. A year ago in this spring game, it was pretty obvious he was a guy that was going to need a year. He was nowhere near ready. And it sounds like, by all accounts, he has taken a big jump. He's mostly been pretty good this spring, and he's been good enough to maybe not push Klubnik for the starting job, but at least, push him in a way that can make both of them better.
And make everybody feel better about Vizina if he has to come into a game.
He's only one play away. He's just one play away from having to need that guy. So you got to have him ready. He needs to be ready when his number's called. And again, it's hard to put a lot of stock sometimes into the things you hear during the spring. But once you start hearing it over and over and over and from different guys, not just the head coach, but their teammates and stuff, and some of the things that have been said, those are the kinds of things that I find encouraging anyways.
Dabo's pre-spring game press conference is coming up on Wednesday. Of course, you can join Jason with his recap on what Dabo had to say and the latest from spring practice and on into Saturday's game. This defense, we've talked about it during the offseason. It should really be the calling card of this team, despite the big losses up front. Anybody on that side of the ball, or anything in regards to that unit coming around? Any new guys that you like in particular, and maybe even a little bit more than you did a month ago?
Yeah, I think there are going to be some new names that you didn't maybe see last year. That names that if you're a Clemson fan, but guys you didn't really see last year for one reason or another. One of them for me at the top of the list would be Vic Burley, big defensive tackle who was hurt last year and had the red shirt. With Peter Woods moving outside the defensive end, I think that opens up a lot of opportunities for a guy like Burley. I think another defensive tackle, DeMonte Capehart, who is primed to take over a much larger role along that defensive front this year. And guys like Trey Williams and Peyton Page fall into that same category. Another young guy would be Stephon Green, who also redshirted last year. Maybe he works himself into that rotation. But for me, one of the guys that I am ready to see Saturday is A.J. Hoffler, a defensive end. He didn't redshirt last year, but he didn't play a whole heck of a lot. Just got to see flashes of him. And he's a guy that I think's got an extremely high ceiling. Don't think he's going to win a starting job or anything. I think Peter Woods and T.J. Parker obviously have those locked down. But I think he's a guy that can work himself into the rotation and see the field a lot as a sophomore this year.
Can you give us a feel for what Clemson looks like on campus that weekend? Every school has its different approach to the spring game. From time to time, we'll hear, oh, this school or that school is really looking to set the spring attendance record, and it's a big deal for them. I remember back in the day when I would go to a number of spring games in the SEC, they would try to match it up with the baseball team and make a whole weekend out of it and have different events. How does Clemson embrace the spring game? Is it a big deal? You've seen many of these, so
yeah, they're a pretty big deal. There's no baseball this weekend. Sometimes you'll have a baseball series at home the same weekend. Not the case this year. It was last year, but the baseball team's at Notre Dame this weekend. But there's probably, depending on what year it is, you're probably looking at 40, 50, 60,000 people at these games. It's not 80,000 like it would be on a regular fall Saturday. But there's still a ton of people that come through campus this weekend. It's always a fun weekend. They kind of try to keep things as similar as they can to a regular game day with the traditions. They'll have the Tiger Walk and all that good stuff pregame. So you get all that kind of stuff that you would normally get. It just kind of depends. It varies year to year on exactly how many people show up. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of crowd they have there this weekend. During that playoff run, they had some pretty big spring crowds. Don't get me wrong, they always have a pretty good crowd there, but I'm interested to see if it's going to be closer to 60 or maybe closer to 45, 50, because there's a lot of questions about this offense, and there's a lot of people ready to see it kind of take a step forward. It's been kind of down for 3 years now, and people are ready to see it take a step forward in year 2 under Garrett Riley. And there's a lot of optimism right now, and I think people want to see it. So I'm kind of curious to see how many people actually show up and want to see it live and in person rather than settle for watching it on TV, because the tickets are free, parking's free, first come, first serve. It's one of the only free events on campus, so everybody has access, and it's a pretty fun weekend most of the time.
That's what I love to hear. And that's the way it should be. And that's the way it used to be everywhere, from what I know. But here in the last 10, 15, whatever number of years, it seems like a lot of these schools have gouged their fans when a lot of these people cannot afford to go to a regular season game. It's the spring game. Let them get involved, be able to see the team, see the players, bring their kids, all that business. It's a spring game. Free. Should be free.
Absolutely. Back during the COVID year, when they played during the COVID year, Clemson charged a small nominal fee for spring game tickets because they were letting only so many people in. And I know some people were worried that once they did it once, well, the precedent set, now they're going to start charging every year. But no, it didn't work out that way. It's always been free. And I'm with you, man. There's a lot of people that cannot afford to go to a regular season game, they've kind of priced a lot of people out of those things. And the spring game gives you a good opportunity. You can bring a family of 4, 5, 6, however many people, man. And it's free. You don't have to have tickets. You just walk right in the gate. And the parking, which has gotten so expensive at Clemson, it costs more to park really than go to the games. That's also free. And the lots that are usually reserved for IPTAY or Booster Club folks, they're all open. And it's first come, first serve. You get there early and you'll have a good spot.
Jason and I get together Saturday about 8 o'clock Eastern time and join us for Jason's rundown on the spring game. And in the meantime, lock in on allclemsontigers.com with Jason with everything concerning Clemson athletics until Saturday. Jason, always appreciate you stopping by. Look forward to Saturday. Hopefully you have a good weather day and have a good day of Clemson football.
Yeah, hopefully we see some explosion, man. And I'll see you Saturday night.